Okay, so when we're looking at today's lesson, I want you to go back to the ed puzzle we did on Friday. You should have already done that. Unfortunately, I am not here today. I had to take a day off. I have some personal issues. I got a family member that's very sick that I need to go see. Don't worry, I'm still going to be back this week. I had to be with this person this morning. I can tell you more when I'm in class, okay? So just show some respect for the class, show some respect for me, and get this done. And you'll actually have a short class today. You get this done, the ed puzzle. I want you to watch the vocabulary video about this. It's actually kind of a really good one that I want you to watch. If you want to watch it twice, go for it. And then I'll have an exit ticket, and I'll have some homework. Okay, there'll be a quizzes homework, a Google form exit ticket, and that's all you have to do. Okay, so watch the ed puzzle for me. Watch the vocab. So let's go ahead and do this. We're going to say ed puzzle, which you are already doing, which is great. Okay. You're going to watch the vocab. You don't have to write this down. All right. The vocabulary, you know what I'm talking about. And that's going to be on negative exponents. It's actually a very good watch. Then there's going to be a Google form exit ticket. Okay. And then the last thing is going to be a quizzes homework. A quizzes homework. Okay. Get all these things done. You're doing the ed puzzle right now. The vocab, the Google exit ticket, and the quizzes. Okay, so let's just get started. Let's review from last week. We learned some new rules last week. Let's just review them. We always need review in math. Review for math is vital. You have to have some review time to go over what we've just done. And I'm going to go ahead and divide this into 4 quadrants, okay? And we're going to talk about our rules. So if I said x squared times x to the third times x to the fourth equals, and I also want you to know that this is the base, these are the exponents, you know that. What if it was in a different format? Do this problem as well. What if it was like this? What would you do there? All right, why don't you go ahead and try that problem first? And then let's go ahead and try this one now. For this problem, you're going to add them, remember? So if you add across, 3 plus 2 is 5 plus 4 is 9. X to the ninth. What about this one? Add here, 10 plus 4 is 14, plus 3 is 17. All right? Cool. This is multiplying. When you're multiplying, you add. All right, let's do another rule. Another setup of rules. Let's do one where it's a little different. How about if we did x to the fifth over x squared equals, and then what if I mixed it up and said, actually not x, I'll do 5 to the 10 over 5 to the 12. And what are those equal? So first of all, what is this one going to equal? Do you remember the rule? Who wins the battle, the top or the bottom? If you remember the rule, the top versus the bottom, right? Who's going to win the battle? Who's going to win the fight? The top's going to win the fight because there's more soldiers, right? But what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to subtract. So x to the third. All right. Now, this side over here, what do we do here? Let's go ahead and I'm going to give you some options on the ed puzzle. Remember, who wins the battle, the top or the bottom? This time, the bottom's going to win. The bottom has 12 soldiers. The top has 10. So of those 12 soldiers, how many more does it have than 10? It has 2 more. All right. So basically, this comes down and subtracts. That's your answer. Interesting, right? Remember, the bottom wins. You have to put a 1 on the top if the bottom wins. Okay. Let's go over another rule that we learned. What about this one? We learned that one on Wednesday and Thursday. And I'm going to put it with numbers as well. All right, so what am I going to do with this? I have to go ahead and multiply. Remember, you're allowed to multiply these two. X to the 12. Then what about these two? 3 to the 15. All right, so now these are 3 rules you've learned, right? The last rule is just kind of a generic one that we know. We're not going to go too much into it with today's lesson because it doesn't really deal with negatives at all, because it's going to be something to the 0 power. 0 cannot be negative or positive. It's the absence of value. Okay, so what is something to the 0 power? Easy peasy. It's always going to be 1. So we learned all 4 of these rules last week. It was a lot. You have to know these. In high school, they want you to know the variables bases, where there's x's, okay? In 8th grade, they want you to know the number bases, okay? They call them integer bases. You'll be fine. I want you to know them both so you're ready for high school, all right? Now let's get into the new stuff this week. If you did the Ed puzzle, it gave you a clue, gave you a little heads up of what's happening going into next week, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and cut this in half. And now the bottom half of my sheet, it's going to be another intro into negative exponents. All right, negative exponents. So let's talk about negative exponents. So when we have to deal with these, say you had something like 5 to the negative 3. 5 to the negative 3, you must have it flip. It must flip and become positive. It must flip and become positive. So this is going to be 1 over. It looks weird. The vocabulary video goes into this very cleanly, so you can see it. All right. In the vocab video, it does a to the negative. They actually put a letter. I don't want to mess with you too much. What if I just said a to the negative 5? That means it's going to go 1 over a to the positive 5. Do you see what I mean by flip? It must flip. It's on the top. It doesn't want to be on the top. It's happier. It's more positive. See why it's happier? See why I'm saying negative turns happy? It's happier on the bottom. All right? They need to stay on the bottom. They must flip and become positive. So what's weird, though, is what if this was on the bottom? We'll get into that later. I don't want to mess with you too much today. I want to stay very simple with what we're doing today. So I want you to see negatives when it comes to rules, doing certain problems that involve the rules, okay? So looking at this rule right here. All right, let's try this rule here. This one, what are we supposed to do with them? We're supposed to add when they're all being multiplied. Watch what I'm going to do right now. This is going to get kind of crazy. X to the 2nd power times x to the 3rd times x to the negative 10. All right, now look at what you have here. You have the same bases. Cool. Okay, I know. Mr. Mercick taught me when I have the same bases, I am allowed to add the exponents. All right, but don't forget about that negative 10. All right, 3 plus 2 is 5. All right, we're good there. 3 and 2 is 5. Plus negative 10. What's 5 and negative 10? That equals, don't you just subtract 5 from the negative 10? If you didn't know it, you're going to put it in your calculator. And this is my final answer. But what did I just learn right now? Anything to the negative 5, what's supposed to happen? Okay, so guess what? This, just like this answer here, it has to look like this. So it's going to be x to the 5th. It turned positive, but it had to flip sides. And that's your final answer there. Okay? It's a weird one, but all you're supposed to do, just add across. But when we're adding with negatives, aren't we really subtracting? Isn't 5 and negative 10? You subtract 5 from the 10, and you get that, okay? All right, cool. Now, let's talk about 2 other rules. If I was to give you a problem like this one's not too tough at all. X to negative 3 and the 5. All right, let's slow it down here. When we did the top part here, this rule right here, right? What do we have here? 3 to the 15th. What about down here? All right, this is a little different. Now you're supposed to multiply it. X to the negative 15th. What do we do with negatives? They can't stay negative. They can't stay unhappy. They got to turn happy. But in order for them to become happy, it has to become positive. All right? All right, I think I want to stop there. I really want you to start to get the idea of when we're multiplying them, you just add them across. And then this rule here. There's another rule with this one, but I don't want to go through too much today. This will be next class next week. I have a little bit of time to go over this, so I don't want to just go too much at you. So here's the deal too. If you write these notes down, I put in the beginning of the Edpuzzle, you'll get extra credit if you post them. Post a picture of them, okay? Now, so we just did the Edpuzzle, all right? Now you're going to watch the vocabulary, okay? Watch the vocabulary video, do the Google Form exit ticket, and then do the quizzes homework. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being a part of this.